Hello to everyone. We're back to discuss the problems of the world, and there are many, as I'm sure you all know. And it's in a lot of ways one of the nuttiest periods I've ever seen
It's
because,
crazy. It's almost like it can't get any worse, but you almost say, go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it and find out. I don't know why I have this feeling like he's going to blow himself up. I don't know what that means.
yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, the danger when you're looking at people like this is that they think they're much better, much smarter than they really are. So then, like what just happened with that agency, where the latest story that came out, I think today, where they fired all these people because they're into it, they're in firing mode. They're gonna fire everybody. And then they found out that the people they fired were in charge of the nuclear weapons. So then they asked them to come back.
Oh, they did. Thank you. I didn't know that.
Yeah, which is it just shows you that the danger here is how incompetent they are. They're not thinking clearly. It's all ideological instead of measuring properly. Which in astrology, that's Saturn, where you're being, reasonably cautious. You look at the landscape. You don't just pull triggers in every direction because then when you do, things like this happen. But of course, they don't get embarrassed because they're shameless, so they just keep going.
Yeah, and they just gave the pink slips to a whole bunch of IRS agents
Hmm.
right in the middle of tax returns. You know what? People are going to have a heyday with that because where are the agents that are going to be able to double check them?
Yeah, no, I know. It's a difficult time. I mean, the only thing about this is that what's clear to me now more than ever is the thing where you see that it's a world problem. It's not just the US. Like the Trump and Trumpism is the manifestation right now of this. It's almost like a world contraction. You can feel that everywhere countries are in a struggle because it's not just here. France is in a problem, Israel, even Russia, yeah, but because now they're trying to help them win the war, but Russia is really hurting. They've totally exhausted their economy. So, and then China, people talk about China, but they're having problems too. There's a problem everywhere. There's a contraction. It's almost like that biblical, remember that biblical thing where 7 years of prosperity,
Yes,
7 years.
yes.
I don't know that I would say 7 years, but definitely these years are more difficult.
Yeah, I felt it was going to be really tough. And the other thing is, what's interesting is China says you can't remove Palestinians from their homelands. The same guy that wants to take over Taiwan.
Oh yeah, no. Well, the hypocrisy. The thing is that we've reached levels of hypocrisy that they're just unparalleled. I mean, it's it used to be that people pretended at least to be a little more. Not anymore. I mean, yeah, I'll take Taiwan, but you can't take Gaza, and then Putin will say that's illegal while he's attacking Ukraine. I mean, yeah.
I don't know about you, but I've been getting a lot of emails from good friends. A lot of them just started, one started they had just signed his admission to work for the IRS and then got canned. Another one with the vets had already started the job and then got canned. I mean, people are getting canned left and right.
Yeah, well, see,
How's
but
that
the
help
thing,
people when you don't have a job?
well, and the thing is, okay, so think about it, right? I mean, I'm sure there are 100% you'll find inefficiencies, but, and these are the people running the government, so things can keep moving along. If you start removing people, then pretty soon people won't get their money, whatever. You're going to cause problems. So you have to be careful. It's that simple, and they're
It's going to
not,
be a huge problem. Well, it's also going to be at the voting booth too. People are going to say, "Oh, hell no."
yeah, yeah, no, I 100%, 100%.
Bush won hugely, at 70% because we were dealing with, um, you know what?
9/11. Yeah.
And then by midterms, people were already done with him. He was like his numbers were so low, and that's when he lost the House. He lost everything. He lost the Senate and the House.
Who? Bush? Which Bush?
Bush, the
Bu-
youngest one,
Well, you're talking about the second term.
second term.
Yeah, well, they lost. That was not the Senate. That was Pelosi won the House. The Senate, Obama took it in 2008, and then he
No,
lost.
I'm talking about when Bush was in office in his second term.
Right, but in
He
the
was
second
loved
term,
70 some odd percent, and then boom, he dropped.
right, but well, anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
The main point you're making, which is totally true, is that midterms are really hard on the incumbents. They always are, right? Now, the thing is, the counterpoint to this is that people are still on this thing about, not everybody, I'm sure, I don't know, but maybe you've been hearing different things. The thing about how they're saying it won't matter because they'll just cheat. I'm skeptical about that. So to each his own. They're kind of saying it won't matter because next year, the midterms, they'll just cheat to keep the House and the Senate. No, I don't see that.
I don't,
No.
well, they weren't able to cheat really with the House and the Senate. Somehow they did it with the presidency.
Yeah, but how was that? I mean, I know
Musk did it. I don't know, but people would put in a vote for Trump and then nobody else. They didn't mark anybody else. There's a bunch of stuff. I'll send you the paperwork. It's
I
a
mean,
bunch of stuff.
the
I
problem
think
with
beyond a reasonable doubt they cheated.
well, okay, that you and I are not on the same page on that one. My sense
How could McConnell win again when he had a 26% favorability rating?
because it's in Kentucky. I mean, in Kentucky, they always vote that way. Anyway, look, we can argue till the cows come home. I can tell you that I follow enough people that I think have common sense. People
What
like
are you
Mark.
saying? I don't have common sense?
No, I'm not saying you don't have common sense. I'm telling you that Mark Elias, for example, if he thought there was the slightest chance of cheating, they'd be on it constantly. And from the beginning, they said, we got nothing here. And it sounds a lot like 2020. 2020, there was the other team saying, there's
Yeah.
cheating, there's cheating, there's cheating.
So have you looked at Trump at all on his chart? Any aspects we should flag?
No, Trump is in a tough time for sure right
Oh,
now.
he is?
Trump from now until April, it's very complicated, at least on the level of getting things done. The pushback that they're experiencing right now is related to that. Musk too. Musk is having Saturn. Saturn is the planet that when it's around pushing hard, it makes it hard to move forward, to get things done, right? And then with Trump, you add the element of danger to his health from where the Saturn is and where it lives in his birth chart. The combination is quite tricky, and his age, and that you can see that he's not all there the way he used to
Yeah,
be.
he's
Right.
acting weird. He's acting even more flatline than he did before.
Exactly. So he's got, yeah. But now the thing is, you also have to say that April, May, it is easier, better for Trump, because what happens then is the Saturn moves forward away from the pressure and he gets Jupiter. And he seems to do everything with Jupiter. Now, the only thing with Jupiter is what he accomplished here, getting in, surrounded by all this hard planetary energy. It does have the feel in astrology of be careful what you wish for, because Jupiter can grant it, and then Jupiter will leave. Like by the summer, Jupiter goes to the next sign. That sign isn't as helpful to him at all. In fact, it's hard for him. So then could be health, could be the way the government is running. It's not a good thing. And so then you may come to regret. But he doesn't regret anything. I mean, this man is, he's a lost
You
cause.
know, when he's sitting at the Resolute desk and that little boy, Elon Musk boy, is telling him, you're not the effing president. Get out of here. And he doesn't react just because he's not hearing, he's not listening to him.
No, yeah, it's a,
Then he picks a big old booger and he wipes it on the Resolute desk. It's all
really?
on camera.
Okay, that I didn't see.
And this guy is supposed to be a germphobic, but anyway. But the fact that he didn't really even react, he just kind of bowed his head, Either Elon Musk has even more power than we thought, or he doesn't really notice what anybody else is saying, especially a little kid.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, there's no question. It's one of the many ironies, but you see with this guy is that he does that crazy, malevolent, hypocritical, just an awful person. He'll pick on people. And he was doing that to Biden. Oh, you're too old. And, now he's facing the same thing. It's like when he picked on Hillary for being a national security risk, and then he went and did it even worse, guaranteed that it's almost like his karmic retribution, that now he's going to appear older and older. He's going to start losing his mind and saying more and more stupid things because he's probably worn himself out, but like compare his lucidity to Bernie Sanders, who's much older, right? Bernie Sanders
Never
is
know.
way more there than Trump is today in terms of his presence. Trump looks at times like he's, maybe when he's high on Adderall, he's a little more together, but he has periods when, yeah, he's checked out, and so it's not a good thing.
So, someone asked, well, do you see the courts being able to enforce compliance with their orders, like sending in the federal marshals? That's more like a psychic question, but do you see on the chart maybe some sort of constitutional crises or something where they're able to stop them?
Well, that one fits into the pattern where it's much more likely they stop now. It works for the next 6 weeks. Then some things they're going to get. I mean, you can't expect an administration, no matter how clueless they are at times, they're going to be there and not figure out. Like, remember in 2017, he did that crazy Muslim law. He tried to implement it the first day. They stopped him. But then later, they figured out a way to put it through so they could implement it. So don't expect every single thing to be blocked. They'll get some. But most thinkers seem to think, most deep thinkers, that it's critical to stop them now. That at this point,
Yeah, you have
very important.
So they can't take advantage of you.
Right. So then it's probably, how like they say the first 100 days,
Yeah.
you'll probably get a few things through in the last 30 of those days. Then by the time we get into the summer, it always starts getting complicated again because Saturn goes into Aries the whole summer. Aries is not great for Trump or for Musk, so, and then later in the year, even worse, because then Saturn comes back.
How long is Saturn in Aries?
3 months. It just does this dip, goes in.
Okay. What is, if you don't mind, what does Saturn mean to me in Aries? I don't think I get along with Aries either.
To you? Let me see. To you, not that much.
Okay.
In fact, it might even be, you might experience it as a much better energy than say now, where it's a little too close. It's too close to your stuff. So it'll be an improvement. But if a person has a planet in really early Aries, Libra, Cancer, or Capricorn, the 4 cardinal signs, or if you're born very early, or it's like, in other words, it can be the sun if you're born then, but it can be any planet. Then the Saturn leans into that planet. So then it doesn't feel great. But with Saturn, it's always a challenge to learn something new, just tough it out, because if you don't, it's going to come and visit you again. These planets keep spinning, there's no way out. They just keep coming around and around. So the tragic outcome can be if they just never learn. The Saturn comes by, they do the same thing, which often is they get depressed, they don't do anything. Then the planet leaves, they feel a little better. Then it comes back and challenges them with the same problem, right? So that's.
I remember Susan Miller talking about, and she was right because my marriage ended when she said Saturn was coming and it's the end of relationships. You'll be so shocked and awe.
When was
and
that?
She said, don't worry. Saturn always leaves a little gift at the door on its way out, which it did.
I mean, sometimes the gift of Saturn at the door, it goes to you. Don't do that again. So
I think actually my gift was Cancer.
What year was that? Do you remember?
Well, let's see. That marriage ended in 2002.
2002. Yeah, but the Saturn in your chart was probably hard on your marriage in the late 90s too, because in the late 90s, Saturn was in the marriage house. So if a marriage isn't working and Saturn goes through the marriage house, that's when you feel, this is not good. And so, for you, your relationship Saturn years were 96 to 2003. So that period, it's all about relationship. And if it's not working, it's not a lot of fun, right? So it looks like near the end of that, you finally escape.
Yeah. Well, that marriage didn't last long, but it was, you know, it takes two, but I'll tell you, I was not happy. It's how can you be happy in a marriage when you're not happy? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. So Elon Musk, do you see him gaining power or losing power?
At the moment, he's losing power. But the thing is, in the summer, I just said a few minutes ago that it isn't great. It's not great, but it's still much better than Trump because the thing about Musk is that Musk is a Cancer with Cancer rising, and Jupiter's going into Cancer, and he does have a strong Jupiter. I mean, the guy's really, really rich. As much as we can insult him and see, that he's quite a hypocrite too. He's not a nice guy. All these guys
He lies while breathing.
all the time. But even so, you got to grant them something. And if Jupiter's there, it helps you. There's no question. So, thing with Musk though is that Jupiter is there, very similar to Trump. These are people with big heads, ultimately, like this. So then they start thinking, I can do anything. And that's Jupiter, the expansive nature of Jupiter. But then it comes back to haunt you as, it moves and then it moves pretty quickly, more so than Saturn, then the Saturn finds you. And that's where 2026, which is an election year, Saturn is way stronger in Musk's chart, catches up to you and brings accountability, right? But this is what I was saying. It's super important to think, if you want to think cheating or not cheating, we need to vote. Okay, so you got to assume that your vote is going to count. Otherwise, how do we get these people? How do we check them? How do we say stop? And all we need would be one of the two. If we get the House or the Senate, we get them both, great. But if you get even one, it's pretty good because he's already under the threat of impeachment again, for example.
They can't do it until they've changed the House or the Senate. They can't do it until then.
No, it's at the moment is we're at the mercy of the wind, unfortunately, a little bit.
Yeah.
It's complicated, right?
So how do you see our wonderful man Zelensky? Did you see what happened when JD Vance gave that terrible statement? And that guy came up and gave the best statement about America. We can't depend on them. They've turned into, a mafia. And we have to stand with Zelensky and the Ukraine. Oh my God, it was beautiful.
That to me, it's a hard read because I'm seeing all these conflicted, like right now you would think, okay, this has to be really bad for Ukraine. So then I looked at there's a chart for Ukraine when it was founded, but like it was the Declaration of Independence. But that chart, I don't know, something about it doesn't feel quite right because I don't get enough signals for the 22 invasion. I should be seeing a little more clearly. Then Zelensky's chart, Zelensky should be doing fine until at least the summer because of the Jupiter being in Gemini. It's helpful, right?
Okay.
I don't have enough visibility on that. But the other conflicted thing is that Putin, the longer time passes, the more complicated it gets for him because the two big planets, Saturn and Neptune, going into Aries, that's not good for him. And especially next year, it's not good for him. Even the summer, though, Saturn in Aries, Neptune in Aries, not great. But you would think, right? You would think that it should be like really easy now, carte blanche, because the way JD is talking and and Trump and like apparently JD says, I don't care about Ukraine. I don't care what happens to Ukraine. That's how radical he is in his attitude, right? So you would think they would provide aid. Maybe are you seeing Europe maybe stepping in and helping?
I see Europe. Oh, hell yeah. Germany.
Yeah.
Listen, before Biden left, I knew they were in trouble. So the US gave a lot of the things they were going to give to Ukraine over to Germany to pass on.
Yeah, so then that would explain it. Why, even though it appears like it's curtains for them, that it may not turn out that way. This is the same thing that Netanyahu is facing. The longer time passes, the more pressure that Saturn is going to put in, right? And
They went to go see Zelensky and they had him a paper. Did you hear about that? To sign over all his
Oh,
mineral rights.
the minerals. Yeah, yeah, sure. I wouldn't sign that.
And he passed it right back.
Yeah.
He should
Just
have
sign
wiped
it.
his
Just
chicas off with it.
scribble with, and when you sign, instead of signing, put no. I mean, Trump is amazing. Trump is he's like a mob boss. He's like someone that comes down to shake you, to tell you, oh, you have to give me this much or else, I'm going to send in the thugs.
Well, look what they're doing with Eric Adams in New
Oh,
York.
yeah, 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 yeah. No,
If that's not mafioso, I don't know what is. And it's blatant.
yeah, well, and the thing is, you see, the thing about the situation is that the public is a lot more inured, or they don't pay attention as much as they used to corruption. But when they see corruption and they see problems in their life happen through anything these guys are doing, then you can make a much better case, for upcoming elections and bring
Oh yeah,
about
because
change.
I don't know. I wonder when the New York when he's up for when is he up for
Adams,
yeah.
uh, that's a great question. I've been using this engine, AI engine called Perplexity.ai,
Uh-huh.
and just about every question I ask it, it gives me a detailed uh, response pretty quickly. When is Adams?
He's a Virgo, September 1st. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to find out when he's up for
It's November. November.
this November.
This November.
Oh, he's not going to get back in.
I would say probably not. I'll take a look at his chart. I don't think there's a time for him, but just going on the politics, I would say it looks really
No,
bad.
I see New York gathering together saying, oh, hell no.
No, because the thing in New York is, in the end, is blue, and at the moment, when you're taking gifts from Trump, you're sealing your fate.
And what did I tell you back when he won, when Trump won, and I told you my guide said man has free will. And I was like, and then they said he needs to show his own people who he is. And that's what's going on right now. You got farmers, you got regular people just trying to make a living. Now they want to cut Medicaid. I got to tell you something. I don't know if that budget's going to pass.
No, it's not easy. Well, see, the thing is that the bigger picture that we're in, and which I think is really the truth of it, the country is really divided, right?
Yeah.
And so they're divided even in their own party. They've got
Yeah.
a group of people that, no, we don't want to pass this and that, and the debt ceiling and the other thing. So that really complicates it. Then they have to get Democratic help, but if they get Democratic help, they have to give away concessions. Because apparently they have a budget where there are $0 for Medicare, not Medicaid, Medicare, $0. That's not going to pass. That's crazy. You give $0 to Medicare, you completely upend the system. Running the U.S. government is like running the Titanic. You don't turn it quickly. You can't. You don't just go like a car. No, it's slow. You try to do these big moves, you break something, and then the public rebels, and you can get into a big problem. So yeah, no,
Rachel Maddow last night, I started watching her again. She's pretty good. Oh, can you put it on pause 1 second? And don't let me forget Rachel Maddow.
so
So
Rachel Maddow, you were saying.
Yeah, so Rachel Maddow had a show last night that talked about when Nixon became president. Lyndon B. Johnson wasn't not even dead 3 days, and he wanted to remove the he had some sort of thing he developed, Lyndon B. Johnson, to help the poor. I can't remember the name of it. It doesn't exist now. But it was to help people with housing, poor people with housing, with getting jobs, with education. Very good program. The government gave a lot of money to it, and it was going strong. And then when Lyndon B. Johnson died, 3 days later, Nixon says, I want it gone. So he tried to do what Trump is doing right now. I say it's gone, but then people fought and took him to court and he lost.
Mhm.
Then he goes into his second term and he puts a bulldog in there that's just going to go in there and tear it up. And once again, they got sued and he couldn't do it. And what happened was, if you want to get rid of a program, you have to go through Congress.
Mhm.
Congress is the one that feeds it. You can't just say, no, forget it. So years later, after Nixon was gone, some other Republican managed to go through Congress and get it removed. That's how you do it. You just don't blatantly go in there and wipe it out. And it was a great thing for her to bring out, because Trump thinks he's king. He's going in there going ass backwards. He thinks he's in charge and he can't do it. But the thing is that Congress is such a wuss. They are not speaking up.
Yeah, but you know why, right? Because the way they've set it up, Musk has all the money, and Musk has threatened that if you don't do what Trump says, he'll pour money into the elections so they can elect a more MAGA person to your seat. That's what happened to that guy, that doctor in the Senate, who could see that RFK is a crank, a total crank, and didn't want to vote for him, but he would have been thrown out of his seat, and he wasn't going to sacrifice his career. They're not as conscientious or as truthful as Liz Cheney.
Yeah, but
Liz Cheney.
but I'm going to tell you, they're going to lose anyway.
Yeah, right. But
I don't care
yeah.
if didn't Trump, during a lot of these elections, he picked the people that were going to win, and by God, they're going to win. And I think he lost all of them except one.
Yeah, no,
Everybody was laughing at him because, you can only take so much. And then the thousands and thousands of people who just recently got fired because of Trump, all the farmers, everybody, they're going to come forward and say no.
Mhm.
How about all the Venezuelans that had a big party for him? Vote for Trump. And now he's sending them all back to Venezuela.
Oh no, for sure that there's no question. It's just that what's hard for people, the people on the Democratic side, is that we have to be patient for now.
Yeah.
Don't let these people get under your skin. Be
Yeah.
kind to yourself, because it's really easy. I notice that if I watch one or two things just to find out what's going on, okay, I got it. But then if I keep going, I can feel myself getting angry. I feel like, what the hell? These people are great. And then it affects me. Then I start losing my way. So you have to be careful, just do enough to know what's going on. Of course, if you hear that something's happening to your Medicare, things like that, but there are a lot of things where people take on too much, because something that they've done already, and you think, oh, they shouldn't have done it, and you get upset. Used to be that you didn't even know. Now the media tells you everything, everywhere. Look,
Oh
there's
my
this problem.
God.
So you go nuts. You just totally go nuts.
What did I tell you back when we first started? I said, the problem with MSNBC and all these news stations, as much as they would not like Trump, they want Trump because he'll sell news.
Yeah.
And they're eating it up and they're spitting it out. And the more shock and gore that he does, the more they're eating it up. And it's like, and then they love to say, well, we told you so. Not really. You were saying Biden's too old and you were doing this. And they didn't rally around Kamala like they did for him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not a perfect situation.
No.
I mean, like some of that you almost have to accept it as a faded thing based on the bigger picture, because when you see the way the whole world is having a hard time right now with the right-wing parties, democracies are not happy, right? So it's almost like a symptom of the whole thing. And you can then point to certain things. Well, if they would do that, it would have changed the outcome. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, in the end, I did keep saying, in a way I wasn't listening to myself. I kept saying the last couple of years, hey, we're going into civil war territory. That's not a good place to be in.
Yeah, you
Obviously, the country's
because
not
the
gonna be
planets
happy.
aligned exactly.
Yeah, so it's not an easy time, right? And by the way, it's not an easy time for anybody, because my feeling is the MAGA people are going to start getting angry too. No one's going to be happy here. There's not
MAGA's going to get angry at him, right?
at him, at the whole situation, no one is happy at the moment. It's just that kind of period where we have
Well, they're not joking. I was at Safeway the other day and it was $10.99 for a dozen eggs.
yeah.
And it was $10 for those 4 cubes of butter in the package. $10.
Did you see that joke ad where the person is giving his girlfriend, instead of a ring, he gives her an egg?
Yeah,
It
and
says
ain't that the
complete,
truth?
complete with a picture of the chicken or some kind of thing. Look, she did.
Yeah. A lot of people are doing their own chicken coops. The neighbors back there got some chickens.
Yeah, I know. And that's not the only thing, because for all kinds of reasons, this is probably one of the greatest risks to Trump and his administration, is that the economy has been booming along for a long time. And that alone, it tends to go the other way. But if you start creating problems through tariffs and things like that, you can get an even more faster decline, and nothing
It's
like
going to
that.
start declining because he's back on the tariffs and he knows it's really going to cost trouble. What's interesting, he announced the tariffs, he was going to do it right away, and the stock market dropped 700 points. Then all of a sudden it was off the table.
Of course.
No, I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to wait. Then it went back up. And by the way, Elon's stuff started to drop.
Mhm.
So now he's at it again. And you watch what happens. In fact, we're in also, what do you call, where our consumer something has gone up again.
The consumer, the price index, or the confidence, or which
That,
one?
like, I think it's the price anyway. And then he called it Biden's.
Yeah, well, it's never his fault, right? Never his fault.
He
But
always has to blame Biden.
the one thing is that the Saturn cycle, whenever Saturn is in cardinal signs like Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, because the US is a Cancer country with Saturn in a cardinal sign, they're not easy years. Like, for example, 2008 and 9, well, not 8, 2009, 2010, 2009 at the end, 2010, 2011, the country was contracted, right? Because of the crash that happened, the financial crash. And then
That was terrible.
in the pandemic period, the same thing happened again. There was a contraction due to a health thing. And now we're getting another Saturn cycle. They happen so that 5 years it's off, but then for 2 years it's on. So that explains contraction energy, which usually will hurt the economy, right? And so
Right. So
that's
we're in
another
one right now.
yeah, it's starting in the summer and then more next year and the year after, right? So those are tells that the economy will probably contract. And the economy, there's another one. I'll give you another example. Back in the late 80s, right? So that's another Saturn cardinal. And George H.W. Bush invaded Iraq because they were defending, Kuwait had attacked and all that. He won the war and everybody thought he's going to get it easily, but the economy contracted and he lost the election, right? So it's very threatening because there are periods that the country contracts, right? And then you get punished, even though it may not be your fault that much.
Yeah.
It's just you happen to be there, right? So that was part of the reason. The contraction was the pandemic. It was inevitable, but it I think is what led to Trump's defeat in 2020. The biggest explanation for that is that people saw what he was doing and they didn't like it, right? I mean,
And we were complaining about him then. He was lightweight compared to what he's doing now.
yeah, he was, but he was more awake too. He looks like a dopey. He looks like a dopey version of himself now, honestly,
He looks like grandpa for sure.
He's like a light bulb that used to be 100 watts and it's down to 40 watts, and it's so
Yeah.
that usually isn't a good sign, because that in a way was what was happening to Biden. As the years were passing, he just wasn't the same. I mean, look at Biden. When Biden was in his 70s, he was like a political athlete. He would argue with you, and then it became more and more.
It just became more apparent.
Yeah, and Trump is there now. That all that speed that he used to. It's weakened.
The Adderall's not helping him anymore.
No, and by the way, the Adderall and all that Coke that he's drinking, it gets you up, but it keeps taking a little bit less. It takes a toll on you, and eventually
your
you can get a
insides,
problem.
yeah. Hey,
exactly.
speaking of Adderall, I got a flash. I'll give everybody this flash. This isn't astrology related, but so Robert Kennedy got in, and I heard him say, or he's saying to everybody, drug addicts will no longer go in an institution or someplace to help them. They're going to build like these big pieces of land, like these farms, where the drug addict has to go totally 100%, no drugs involved, and grow their own organic vegetables. He's going to do these big farms, and he's going to have them all grow their own. But may I say, maybe it could work.
I mean, it's a good idea, but
we do have revolving door drug addicts. But let me tell you something. You know who won't put up with it? Trump.
probably,
He doesn't want that kind of money spent on drug addicts.
The thing about great ideas is that even in your own life, think of when you get a great idea, right? You get the flash, the great idea. And then when you go and try to do it, you discover, oh man, it's just a lot harder than I thought. I mean, the idea is good, but to actually make it real, it's not that easy. And you don't get the big results you thought. These guys are all like that. I mean, RFK, he thinks he's got these ideas about vaccines and this and that, but I'm sure, he's a Capricorn and he's got lots of plans in the health part of the chart. I got all that. But I'm sure, with Capricorn, you kind of think, well, if I do this, like, for example, the polio thing, is he really going to remove the polio vaccine and then risk a polio?
No, now he's saying it's your choice.
Well, at least that's a start, right?
At least give us the choice. Don't say, that's it, no more vaccine.
Well,
Because now there's a big outbreak of measles in New Jersey right now.
yeah, but at some point that can cause problems too, because if you say it's your choice, but you allow, you could get disease in the schools that run rampant, right? So how can you let that be a choice?
But if you're vaccinated, do you still get the measles?
I don't think so. I think that's the whole idea. I know for polio for sure. Polio is the reason polio is so low. I mean, it used to be that you could get polio more easily, and if you let that run rampant, the thing I don't know is whether polio is polio contagious? I hope not.
It was. I know President Roosevelt got it in the water.
Well, because that's the problem, right? If it's a contagious thing, it's not as simple as saying,
it's coming back too, by the way. But Robert Kennedy wants to hit the. This is where he's going to run head to head with Trump. I knew this is coming up. You guys will watch it as it happens. He wants to get all the cereal people to take the sugar out of the cereals, which is a great idea. Okay.
Yeah.
But corporate, all those Post, Nestle, all those people are going to go straight to Trump and say, what are you kidding? You don't get any money from us anymore. And he'll turn around and nix it. See, he won't be able to do anything. So that's when I think he'll say, I'm out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And although RFK, just based on what I see in his chart, which is in a way a good thing because he's probably less likely to do crazy things.
Yeah.
It looks like he becomes less and less popular, but as the years pass, it's not right away. It takes a while for it to catch up to him. So probably not, the thing about bringing in some crazy health thing that would cause problems for everyone. That's my best.
Yeah, and he wants to get rid of Diet Coke and sugar Cokes. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, no, I know it. I mean, the thing is that he doesn't, not all his ideas are terrible. He has some good ideas.
That's what I'm saying. It's
right.
Not terrible.
But he has some other ideas that are really kooky, really out to lunch, completely out to lunch. And so in that sense, it's more dangerous.
He did say some stuff that was crazy.
Yeah.
But I do feel, the United States goes through this. I don't think this is the end of democracy. I really don't.
No,
and maybe I just can't possibly, as a human being, visualize us going straight into hell in a handbasket. I think there's some hope here, and I think it's because Trump and Musk screw it up.
Right. No, and this is the thing. This is what I was saying about, cheating and the vote and the whole bit. Like right now, you always have to think, whenever something happens, ask yourself, okay, well, what if it had happened in a different way? What would that be like? And so, like, for example, remember when Hillary lost, one of the thought experiments I had in my mind was, well, if she had won, she would have been the one dealing with the pandemic. That would not have been good, right?
And
So,
nobody would have been happy with her no matter what.
okay, so like astrology, what it shows you is just patterns of change. When planets move in, change. So if the Democrats had won this, they're facing in 2028 a big planet of change. That would probably be a loss. But now they're the ones that are facing it, right? And when you're in an era where governments are having a really hard time hanging on to their power because the people get upset and they vote them out. So that's what we have to go with. I mean,
Yeah. 28
20
is when we vote for a new president, correct?
yeah, and 28, it's the Uranus return for the US. I mean, that's a big, big planetary.
Define, tell us what that means.
Well, it's a change energy, and it's a little different than Civil War because back in the Civil War, the Uranus and Neptune were doing their thing more closer together. Now the Neptune does it first, then the Uranus moves in. But Uranus, by and large, tends to be a really democratic planet. Because Uranus is the very essence of power to the people, like power to the individual within the social collective, right? Uranus was discovered when democracies went on the rise, right? 1782, that was the American experiment. And then soon after that, the whole world, because, people will say to me, oh, that's not true. The Indians were doing it in 1500. We're talking about democracies with a lot of people in them. I know that you can do a democracy, up in the North Pole or something. You can all agree to be democratic. That's not the same. We're talking about like the US is hundreds of millions. The whole European, used to be kings, monarchs, kings, fascists. Uranus was the planet, comes in, industrial revolution, and the world goes to the people. Why? Because Uranus co-rules Aquarius. Aquarius is the group and the individual, both together, which is messy. It's complicated. It's not easy, but it's much better than having a king. If you have a king, he tells you what to do. You have no options, right?
Yeah.
So a planet like that doesn't like this kind of behavior that Trump is exhibiting. This thing of, I'm going to be the person in charge. I'm going to say everything. No one can challenge me. It's the opposite. Anyone.
And he's also hurting people. He's hurting
Oh, yeah.
families. There's people with families that don't know how they can pay the mortgage. It's terrible.
Yeah, no, it's a bad situation. I mean, look at his cabinet. Just look at his cabinet. I mean, because there's one thing before in 2016, there were a lot of reasonable people that were holding him back. Not anymore, right? But the other side to that is those people also help you avoid mistakes. If you put an idiot next to you who just says, yeah, just do it, then you make more mistakes. So it's like that. It's not a simple thing of you get a free
And
pass.
now that money, he's got nothing but money.
For now.
A lot of people with money that don't have to worry about feeding the kids. But even remember, what's that gal's name? Is her name Britt? I think she's a congresswoman. She's kind of pretty. And she did a thing after Biden did his speech, his thing to the nation. And she talked like this. And she blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Trump's doing something right now that's affecting her red state. He pulled all kinds of money. And they don't have the money now to do what they were supposed to do. And she can't believe he did that.
Yeah, no, the stories are coming out. The stories are coming out. Now, I don't know, though. The only thing I'll say, too, is that I looked at those 3 elections because, the Democrats are hoping if they were to win the 3 House special elections.
Oh, I don't know about that one, but I can tell you midterms it's going to go blue.
Midterms, yeah, but those 3, because, I mean, you can even look at the fact that they were won by Republicans by 30 points. I mean, it's hostile territory, the one where Matt Gaetz.
Well, that's because what's his name? The governor, too, has got his finger on the pulse.
Yeah, I mean.
But I do feel one of those seats in Florida is going to go to a Democrat.
You mean the
That's
one
how bad it is in Florida. I get more letters from people in Florida saying it's impossible to live here.
I think the New York one is more likely. The Stefanik seat. The Florida, one of the seats is the one Matt Gaetz had. That's got to be a totally MAGA. How else would you put anyway?
That's like Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's in that hick country.
Well, she's in Georgia, but so my feeling is that the New York one has a better chance, but that's not enough. That'll keep the House tight.
At least it's real close. That's all we need.
Yeah. exactly. Yeah.
But the constituents, the people on the streets are writing to these MAGA people that are in office and begging them to stop this. And they're acting like it's a nothing, like nothing happened.
Yeah.
The Democrats are saying we're getting 1,500 calls a day.
Mhm.
And they're talking out loud, but that got me that they're not saying anything. And they were showing letters that because some people who were from the red states who've written their people and said, what's going on? You can't allow this. And they're saying, yes, we understand. We're keeping a close eye on it. Mm-hmm.
You know, it's going to be the bottom line. The bottom line is if someone is holding back services or money that you were getting before, you've got a problem. You know,
And not going through Congress, the appropriate way to go.
yeah.
Just like Richard Nixon tried to pull a fast one, and they said you got to go through Congress. I don't know if the marshals have come in and shut it down, but
What
something's going to happen.
you
I
mean
think
that-
they're going to make it very clear. You got to go through Congress.
yeah.
So
Well,
he could possibly get the votes if he goes through Congress right now.
yeah. Well,
But then their constituents are going to vote him out.
my feeling on that is that at least until April, mid-April, the odds are really good of holding them back, which may be enough. But then I don't think you can you can stop them on everything.
And don't forget, somebody, I was telling Andre, it was a Verdict astrologer I just happened to look at on YouTube. And she said all the signs, planetary signs coming up are aligned exactly as they were when Martin Luther King and Robert F. Kennedy were assassinated.
I think she's talking about, well, I don't know about all the signs, but I think she's talking about Saturn and Aries. I'll check that one up, but yeah.
So there's something coming up with an attempt at least.
Well, and
That's my psychic input.
because one of the ways you know that too is that different planet, maybe that's what she's referring to, although Vedic, they sometimes don't use Uranus, but back in last year, it was the Uranus cycle in June, July that was the assassination attempt, and that is coming back. He's not done with that. But the thing with those planets, though, is sometimes they show up in a different way. Some other shock, that may not be an assassination, but it could be a health event, for example.
There you go.
That's an exact, because he's got multiple signatures roaming around in the chart pointing to something related to just his body, and to me, Bernie seems
more with it.
I think Bernie was born in 41, I think, and Trump is born in 46. That means Bernie's 5 years older. He's 83.
I
right?
would not guess that.
And Bernie to me looks, now, of course, you never know. Maybe Bernie is the next one to experience something, but he looks to me to be considerably sharper, than Trump.
Well, I'm going to tell you guys something that the other danger, I see danger, is that he's messing with the CIA and the FBI.
Oh, of
And
course.
especially the CIA, they have black ops behind the scenes stuff. They could really mess them up. So I'm not going to say they would do anything drastic. I'm just saying that they could really mess them up. They could plant stuff on him that would make his life miserable.
Yeah, well, that
More
that goes
miserable
to
than it already is.
that goes to the government as a Titanic operation, because there are so many people. It'd be like, think about it, right? Imagine that he fires, 1,000 civil servants because he thinks these are my enemies. I'm going to put in the people that I like.
Right.
It's really hard to get everyone in without some people getting in there that don't like you, and it just takes a few, to get together and cause you serious problems. And even worse when you're talking about a intelligence agency, because that's what those guys do all day long. They're looking for ways to, do secret stuff and basically could work against you, let's just say, right? Not to mention that, look at Kash Patel is
He's still not in, right? He's still not in?
Not yet, but look, if Tulsi Gabbard gets in, how is he not? I don't know, maybe not, but I think he's going to get confirmed.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, that's okay. They already taken a sledgehammer to everything.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty
So
much.
tell us, you're going to be on with Nath?
Yeah, we're gonna be on next week, late next week. So that should be.
He's a really nice person and a psychic reader.
Yeah, yeah.
But he dabbles in astrology too.
Yeah, he does. He does. So we had a really good talk, and we're gonna
Didn't
now
I
do.
introduce you to?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
He we had a consultation in
He
last
asked if,
year.
oh, okay, okay. I
Last year,
thought
yeah, yeah.
somebody asked if they could have your number.
He's
I thought it
he's
was
a
him.
we have a link in that he's European like me. So and now he's actually in Europe right now as well. He's
He's
currently
in
living.
Portugal?
He's between. He's partly in Portugal and partly in the Canary Islands.
Oh my God, my son just got back from the Canary Islands.
Yeah, yeah. So he's
He really enjoyed himself. The pictures were beautiful.
yeah. That's a really nice. It's a
So,
Spain protectorate, and
yeah. And
yeah,
the
really
food
nice
was
place.
really good.
Yeah, yeah.
The fruit is very fresh. I just wish America's going to be okay. I'm telling you, with Mexico not sending stuff, Canada, we're on our own.
Yeah, no, it's one of those periods, but I still say to people, look, just keep
Calm
yourself,
down.
stay calm, keep your mind your health, mind your well-being, and focus on what really affects you. Of course, obviously, if something is affecting you, you have to do whatever you need to do, 100%. But if you take all the problems of the world on your shoulders, it's going to be too much.
There you go.
It's going to be a big problem. So for your well-being.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, my friend.
No, it was a pleasure. All right. We'll end it there for now. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Bye.